ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंगायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनधारणं परमानंद माधवं कृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। We bowl. Thank you, everyone. Oh, I see Nana Prabhu and Sheetal Mataji also here. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. It's only me as of now.
Hare Bol.
Yeah.
Mataji, we are eagerly waiting for you to come back.
Yes, Mataji. I'm also missing all the association in person. So
Yes,
I'm looking forward to.
And Hema Mataji and Hema Parmar Mataji both are here. Hari Bol and Chalini Mataji. Thank you everyone for joining. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. We'll start. So, from the last couple sessions, we covered some questions. Let's see if I have that screen here. So we covered about modern science versus spirituality or spiritual science, right? What is the role of each? Then we talked about happiness from the religious practices or religious perspective or spiritual perspective. What does happiness mean and how do religious practices give us happiness, right? Then we talked about, well, I don't have it. Then we talked about last time about marriage and it's how it is a law of God that we are able to understand and how we use that as a theorem or as an axiom to understand various other rules of the Lord, right? That was one question. What were the other questions? Anybody remembers that we covered?
It was like, why are there so many like why they're making temples and not making hospitals and all orphanages and all those instead?
Right. Yeah. What is the need of so many temples? Thank you. Thanks, Avni. What else? Wasn't there one more? Try to find where we wrote everything.
Brahmacharis, I think, like why they're wasting education, I think.
Yes, Hari Bol, perfect. So brahmacharis or sannyasis, why do people take that order of life when they have studied so much, invested so much time and resources and energies in coming to a very high material platform, and then they give that up and take renounced order of life in which they do not make any money and so-called power and all those the reputation, the social standing they do not get. Why do they give all that up to become a sannyasi or a brahmachari, right? So you gave all very nice points. So before we lodge into the next discussion, first of all, let's see if anybody had any more thoughts that came to their mind and any more realizations or questions. Any points they thought of later to add to these? I know Jagrati Mataji asked me a question later on about how if you're working in this material world, that's actually a very nice question. She said, if you're working in this material world, it can be a rat race, right? Because we are working for money and power and fame and promotions and bigger houses, bigger cars, more land, whatnot, right? So that it can be a rat race, and there is no end to that. And so she asked, what if somebody gets into a spiritual order, let's say a renounced order of life, and then that person starts building more temples, and now there is like a rat race for power within that spiritual institution. Will that be a rat race too? We want to make more temples, or we want to become bigger in our spiritual institution. अभी मैं ब्रह्मचारी हूँ तो मुझे सन्यासी बनना है, या फिर मैं अभी ये सर्विस करता हूँ तो मुझे और हायर सर्विस चाहिए, या ऐसा कुछ करके. Can there be a race within a spiritual institute also, and can it become a rat race? Will that not be a rat race? So we discussed that in person, just her and me, but anybody would like to share any reflections, and that can be our opening to the next thing. Let's see. I don't want to pick on people, so please just raise your hand and keep going next and next. And when you are thinking,
Can I, Mataji?
yes, Prabhuji, please share.
As far as my understanding goes, with the spiritual knowledge that I'm trying to get, it won't be right race, bullet point, because when the person has the spiritual understanding, the intention is completely 360-degree different. This is not for my benefit, it is for Krishna's pleasure. So no, it won't be right race. However, we are all human beings and we have so much of anarthas. Just to name a few, we always have this calm, growth, love, moh. So that will interfere here and there. But since the goal is higher, the test is higher, we will have more chances to ground ourselves. And since we will always have a guidance of our guru who has actually seen the absolute truth. So no, it won't be right race, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, perfectly answered. So the intention matters. The motivation is that you're serving as a servant of the Lord. The motivation is to please the Lord. The motivation is here not to just please your bodily condition, your temporary situation. The motivation is an eternal solution for yourself and for everybody, right? So that pleases the Lord. And this is the nature of true sadhu. So Prabhuji is describing a true sadhu, not a corrupt or a fraud sadhu. A corrupt or a fraud sadhu is not a sadhu, but let's say that there are many of those. There are many of corrupt so-called saints or sadhus that, they are the ones that destroy the name of proper spirituality and proper religion because they're corrupting it with their ulterior motives. So like Prabhuji said, the motive matters. So if you have ulterior motive where you want to get name, fame, power, you want to exploit people somehow, things like that, then that is very temporary. That is actually very sinful. That is actually more sinful than if you were just regularly working in material world, because now you are confusing people. Now you are leading people, you're destroying their faith. फिर आप उनका विश्वास खत्म करो, आप you're leading them astray from the spiritual path. So then actually that is more sinful, क्योंकि आप भगवान के नाम पे चोरी कर रहे हो, तो that is even bigger अपराध. So नाम के बल पे अपराध करना या spirituality के नाम पे अपराध करना is even a bigger अपराध than if you were just if you were just doing these things as a fruitive worker, then it's actually okay. So that's one point, the motivation. I think Anita Mataji was sharing something. Mataji, were you sharing something?
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, I was going to answer on the same line like Ravi Prabhuji did. He obviously did it in a more refined way, but I do have the same thought process that when your goal is higher and like when you are doing it completely for Krishna, then there is no rat race. And then he also brought up the point of having a guru. So whenever like we talk about real guru, they do see that, you know, what's going on. So we should be always doing under the guidance of the guru. It shouldn't be based on just one's thinking or one's own emotion. But then when it comes to the material world, this is the whole together like a total game changer. So I think I was also discussing with you on the similar line. Somebody who is in the, you know, trying to take this spiritual path and trying to be humble, but then again in the material world, this thing comes up like the rat race thing. Like even though, let's say I'm not trying to take part in that race, but somebody like, you know, purposefully instigating or those kind of thing, then how, like, you know, how one should make balance. So like it's again matter of practice, right?
Yes, madam. So yeah, so there are people that are practicing and they can get a little bit distracted by जैसे कि कोई कर रहा, जैसे कि let's say आप कोई बड़ी सेवा करते हो, you cooking prasadam, right? And then everybody is appreciating it. Everybody is, wow, this is the best prasadam we've ever had. You are the best cook, right? So like Prabhuji and Mataji said, you have the tendency to take, you know, it can go to your head. It can come to your false ego where you think, oh, wow, I made this prasadam, right? So you can think I'm the doer, right? And so this can become a matter of pride and arrogance in you eventually, right? If you keep feeding it. But that's why you need constant association. Mataji said you need a guru. Guru jo aapke kaan khinche, jo aapko laga ke rakhe ki nahi. And Prabhupada was one such guru. And actually all our gurus in this movement are like that. You kaan khinch ke rakhte hain. So that you don't, that pride does not get to your head. So you know that you are just a servant. You're doing this as a service to the Lord. This is first of all not done for your glorification or praise or accolades and fame and name and whatnot. And you will not be able to survive for very long, because if you became materially contaminated like this, arrogant and proud and stuff like that, that you will not be able to sustain the test of time. So in long run, you will not be able to last in this path, because this, you know, Krishna is seeing everything within your heart. So these contaminations, if you know, if you're a genuine person who's praying to Krishna genuinely, please do not let these contaminations come to me. Then Krishna will help you, Guru will help you, devotees will help you, scriptures will help you. That's why you always stay in association of all these things. You pray intensely, you stay under the, in the association of devotees, stay under the care of seniors, and they'll keep you in line. So that's what would happen to a genuine practitioner. Yes, he may get a little bit astray here and there, but he'll keep coming back to the center. So thoda center se deviate hoga, but then he'll come back to the center line again. Like when somebody has really bad ulterior motive, those are corrupt people, they will, you know, that's a sinful behavior. Also, iska ek example jaise we can think of, because I was trying to tell her that there can be transcendental competition, okay, and that is allowed. So, for example, I say Jackson distributed 50 Bhagavad Gitas this year, okay, I'm just making up number. And then Memphis says we distributed 500 Bhagavad Gitas, right? So somebody can say, oh, this is not a competition. There should not be, you know, why should you, it's not a rat race that we have to distribute more than them. No, we don't need to distribute more than them, but we should also have a high goal, because in service of Lord, we should do our best possible. So we should have a transcendental competition. Transcendental word ka matlab hai something that is divine, something that is done for the love of God, something that is not done for your own material gains, glorifications and things. Transcendental is beyond this material world. It is on spiritual realm, because we use this word transcendental a lot. या फिर divine word use करते हैं, या दिव्य, या spiritual realm पे कोई चीज है, spiritual platform पे कोई चीज है. So when you come to a spiritual platform or a divine platform, then that transcendental competition is actually healthy, because that is in service of the Lord. So you're giving pleasure to the Lord. ठीक है? इसका एग्जाम्पल ऐसे लो कि दो बच्चे हैं, दोनों माँ की सेवा करना चाहते हैं. एक बच्चे ने पैर दबाए माँ के, तो दूसरा बच्चा भी इंस्पायर होता है, ओ मैं भी पैर दबाऊंगा आगे से, मैं और अच्छे से करूंगा. ठीक है, इसने 15 मिनट दबाए तो मैं आधा घंटा दबाऊंगा. तो क्या ये रैट रेस है, क्या ये मटेरियल कंपटीशन है, क्या ये उस बच्चे को आनंद मिल रहा है बाय बीइंग अ सर्वेंट ऑफ द मदर, राइट? बट अल्टीमेटली प्लेजर किसको मिल रहा है? टू द मदर. So they are both competing, but it is an inspiring competition. It is an encouraging competition. It is not a competition which is done for which is for your own egoistic satisfaction or satisfaction of your own pride and arrogance. This type of transcendental competition is actually encouraged in the spiritual world because that leads to a better service of the Lord. That improves your class of service. That improves your that brings more people in onto the spiritual path. Okay, na? So everybody is serving the Lord, and if they have this type of divine competition going on, that is actually very much encouraged. जैसे प्रभुपाद के टाइम में कैसे होता था competition, there used to be this divine competition. The publisher would publish the books at a certain pace, right? The distributors will distribute the books at a certain pace, and Prabhupada will write the books at a certain pace, right? Now distributors will blame the publisher. They are not publishing books, so we don't have enough books to distribute. And Prabhupada will complain to distributors that you are not distributing my books fast enough. So there was this competition going on. Distributors were in this race with the publishers. We will distribute books faster than they can supply us. Huh? So it's a competition tha. And Prabhupada had this competition. I'm going to write more books than they can distribute. So this is a very sweet. This is sweet. Why? Because this is all being done in service of the Lord. Who is in the center? Lord is in the center. Everybody is fighting, not fighting like in a bad way, but fighting in a very sweet way, in a very inspirational way, to do the best that they can for the Lord. So we should have such goals. We should have such kind of transcendental competition when it comes from a good place in your heart where your intention is to serve the Lord, and love and devotion to the Lord is the highest goal, right? Yes, Prabhuji, you have another point to share?
Yes, Mataji, just one quick point. In the Sadhu Sangha, the last Bhagavatam class from Giriraj Swami Maharaj, he actually mentioned a very good point about the transcendental competition. My understanding is, in the material competition, we pull each other. It's called crab thing. You pull each other from going upward. In transcendental competition, we push each other. Okay, you do this, I'm very happy. Let's do more. Let's do more. That is a transcendental competition. So that's what he said that in a nice way. So I wanted to share this here, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Yes, Prabhuji, we were just discussing this the other day. Actually, Anita Mataji left. I discussed this with her. Crab mentality. Crabs ka, if you see a box, crabs ka box jo hota hai, when they're caught and put in a box, it doesn't need to be covered. Uske upar lid nahi hoti crab ke box pe. Do you know why? Because when one crab is trying to climb out of the box, the other crab pulls him down. And then the other one tries to climb, the third one. So there is a whole chain of crabs. They all pull the one down. Then they could have all climbed out of the box because box was always open. So they could have all gotten out because the box was open. But they were all pulling each other down. That's called crab mentality that Prabhuji mentioned. So that is the mentality in the material world of pulling each other down. Lekin in transcendental world, since everybody is working in spiritual realm, everybody is working for the satisfaction of the Lord. They're all lifting each other up. So very nice point, Prabhuji. So if that's okay, if Mataji, if your question is answered, we'll move on to the next question of the day. You want to start with easy question or hard question? I have a really hard question and I have a very easy question.
Let's do the easy first.
Oh, easy. Are you sure, Reddy? Oh no. Okay, I was hoping to ask for hard. Okay, we'll start with easy. Okay, so then this is very easy for all of you. Now, when you answer these questions, I want you to understand that there is a material perspective to look at a problem and there is a spiritual perspective. Okay? Material perspective relates to our bodily situation. So when we look at a problem from our bodily platform or material platform, we don't get many answers and we feel a little confused and we don't feel like following that particular practice. Okay? But the spiritual platform is when you look at a problem from the perspective of how this is going to please the Lord. Okay, that's spiritual platform. So try to look at this, any problem that I pose to you from both material and spiritual perspective. What are the benefits, material benefits? What are the material problems? And spiritually, what are the benefits? Okay. There won't be any risks. If Lord has given us an instruction, there cannot be any spiritual risk. There can only be benefits. So what are the material benefits and risks, and what are the spiritual benefits? And before we move on, a very basic question I want to ask all of you. Do you understand what is religion? Dharma, religion. If you listen to Prabhupada's lectures, he gives one-line answer to religion. So he says, religion means to know God and to love God. So evaluate the path that you're following and see if in that path you're being taught about God and you're being taught about how to love God. Everybody has the love of Godhead within them, right? But is the path that you're following awakening that love of Godhead within you? So that is the definition of religion. To know, whatever path teaches you to know God and to love God, that is the true religion. Okay, it can be any path. It can be Hindu, Muslim, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Jews, whatever, any path, Buddhism, Jainism, whatever, Sanatan Dharma. Which path is teaching you to know God and to love God? Okay, that is religion. That's one definition. The other, what is the difference between religion and spirituality? Is there any difference? And or what do you understand from these two terms? Who would like to speak up? Okay, let's keep on moving. Hema Mataji, would you like to answer? Yes. Okay, Vedi, go ahead.
It's not really like an answer, but I tend to notice people react better to the word spirituality than they do to religion nowadays.
Okay, yes, that's right. That's very true. Yes, they do. So we have to see why they do that, right? Okay, Vinita, yes.
I think it's possible to have religion, to be like religious without being spiritual, but you can't be spiritual without being religious.
Okay, yes.
Mataji, I have one point too.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Spiritual is universal identity. Religion is limited identity.
Okay. Religion is limited, spiritual is unlimited or functional, constitutional. Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
I think it like religion is my duty, and while I am enduring my duty, I remember God's always.
Okay.
That's my spiritual part.
Okay. Yes, Mataji. So everybody answered very nicely. All of you have good points. So this was not actually my question. I just started with this because I wanted you to understand the basics before we launch into a question. So religion and spirituality, there are two terms. Everybody gave very nice answers. Some people don't like the term religion. They go away from it. Some people like spirituality better. Some people practice religion without spirituality. Some people practice spirituality without religion. What does it mean? Religion is our outward situation, spirit or temporary situation. Spirituality is our inside, like that. Many things you share. So let me just share in one or two lines what is the difference between the two. So religion is basically, okay, let's do spirituality. Spirituality is basically our inherent love for God. Okay, spirituality means our original position, like Prabhuji said. And our original position is to be servant of the God, to be to have love for God, right? That is our spiritual position. That is our eternal constitutional position. Whether it's anybody, whether it's Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, anybody, whether it's an animal, whether it's an ant, whether it's microbe, anybody, they are all spirit souls and they're all servants of God and they have dormant love of Godhead within them, right? Nobody can deny it. Whether it's a plant, it's an animal, any living entity has is a spiritual being, a spiritual entity who are eternally the servants of Lord, and they have love of Godhead within them. Okay. Now, because of having accepted a body, we have forgotten that love of Godhead, that spiritual position of ours, right? So we are practicing, we are trying to awaken it with certain paths. Those paths that we follow, those paths that help us to revive this love of Godhead are called religions. Okay. So that path that helps us to revive our original position, our eternal position within us, that path is called religion. Okay. These paths can be practiced differently based on which body we got in this particular birth. You may have been born in Hindu family or Christian or whatever. So religion is basically how we express our love to God, right? We realize that we need to awaken our love of God. We need to know about Him. So how do we express, or how do we go about knowing the Lord? That is called religion. So expression of our love for God, and whatever path we follow to revive our love for God, to know about Him, is called religion. So for that, people would read either Bhagavad Gita or Quran or Bible or Guru Granth Sahib. So they're following different books to read. They're following different scriptures to know more about God. And then they show their love with various type of expressions. How? Some will bow down in front of the Lord. Some will fold their hands. Some will offer aarti. Some will do some kind of fasting. Some will go to certain pilgrimages, various ways we try to, some will have long hair, some will shave their head, different practices that we follow as expression of our love. Those practices come all under religion, and those practices can vary. The scripture we read can vary. The way we express our love for Lord can vary, right? So those paths can be different based on our bodily situation right now. Okay, so that is why religion is temporary, based on your bodily identity right now, but spirituality is our inherent love of Godhead. So the way to know what is a true spiritual path, so the reason, now here comes Vedhi's question, people go away from religion, is because the expression of love, the various practices have become contaminated over time. They have become very loose over time. They have become deteriorated over time. It is the nature of this material world that things deteriorate over time. That is why in religion, the paths that we are following, they have become corrupted. So people are not following them properly, and that is why people have lost faith in religion. But that's why when you say I'm a spiritual person, not necessarily religious, then people like that. So this is the answer of Vedahi. So to know whether a religion is pure or spiritual path is pure, how would you know? If they are teaching you about God, so you get to know who's God, and you are able to love God based on that path, based on that practice, right? So you can know God and you can love God, then you know that that path is pure. If they're teaching you anything other than that, anything material, कि कैसे आपको ज्यादा पैसे मिल सकते हैं, कैसे आपका माइंड काम हो जाएगा, कैसे आपको सेटिस्फैक्शन आ जाएगी, आपके रिश्ते इंप्रूव हो जाएंगे, आपकी हेल्थ इंप्रूव हो जाएगी, that is not the function of religion. The function of religion is to know God and to love God, to develop, to awaken your inherent love for Godhead. आपके मेंटल लेवल पे क्या हो रहा है, आपके इमोशनल लेवल पे, आपके रिलेशनशिप से लेकर आपकी बॉडी के लेवल पे क्या हो रहा है, आपकी फिजिकल हेल्थ कैसी है, आपके प्रोफेशन में आपको सक्सेस मिलती है या नहीं, या आपकी मनी कितनी मिलती है, आपका घर कैसा है. If this is the function of religion, if this is what they are providing you, then those are not the true spiritual path. So mental health, to motivational speakers, relationship advice, motivational speakers can give, some professional counselors can give you those kind of advice, right? There are life gurus, life coaches that can teach you about all these things. So you don't need a life coach is not same as religion, or motivational speaker or life coach is not a religious path. So the religious path is to know God and to love God, and this is done through the help of pure devotees of the Lord who have known God, who know God, who have already awoken their love of Godhead. So with the help of sadhus, true sadhus, pure sadhus, we're not talking about corrupt sadhus, pure devotees, and most importantly through scriptures. So the sadhus who speak the language of scriptures, because scriptures is where Krishna has given, Lord has given all his information, all his knowledge. So when they speak through scriptures, they are pure, they are applying that knowledge themselves, they have awoken their own love of God, they know the God thoroughly, then that is, and of course, Guru. So Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So through these three mediums, you can know God and love God. So this is the difference between religion and spirituality. Religion is a practice, it is an expression. Then Vinita's question was, some people do one but not the other. Now that is also not recommended. They should go hand in hand. For example, if you love your mom, but you never tell her, right? She keeps giving you food, she earns money for you, she goes to a job and makes money, she comes home and cooks food and cleans the dishes and does your laundry and loves you and everything. She's providing so much for you, she's maintaining you, she's developing your personality, she's giving you various qualities and talents and skills and nourishing you in every aspect, but you never express your love for her. You never express your love for her. You have love for her, so that is spirituality. You have love for her. So we have love for God inside us, that is spiritual. So we say, okay, I have love for God, that is fine. I don't need to express it. No, just like you would express love for any well-wisher of yours who is providing for you, who is maintaining you, who is your well-wisher, who is your friend, who is your benefactor, just like that, you would also express your love for God through various religious practices. So spirituality is not practiced without religion, and religion should not be practiced without spirituality. This is where we have failed, where we are just practicing, कई बार सिर्फ religious practices कर रहे हैं without having any inherent love, without awakening our knowledge of God or love of God. We are not reading scriptures, we are not associating with pure devotees of the Lord, we are not taking shelter of any guru. So we're not making any effort to know God and love God, right? But we're just offering arti, just superficially, kabhi dhoop dikha diya, kabhi lamp dikha diya, kabhi pranam kar diya. Yes, that will have some benefit, but it won't have the best benefit because you're just expressing love, not really understanding that person's mood, that person's name, form, qualities, or pastimes. And secondly, if you do spirituality but never express the love through any of the practices, then that is also not recommended. So yes, you have inherent love for Lord, you are sitting in meditation, you are doing all that, but you never express love through the various paraphernalia, through various practices that Lord has recommended in scriptures, right? So it should go hand in hand. There is always a balance between both. It should not only be just practices, just expression and nothing inherent, nothing inside. It should not be just internal and no external. So external and internal should be balanced. Of course, internals matter more. Internals always matter more. Spirituality always matter more than just the bland, mundane practice of religion. But they should both be combined in a very balanced way. Is that understandable? Any questions from this? They gave a thumbs up. Vinita, does that explain the fact about how people practice one but not the other? So that is just lack of knowledge. That's why we always, from day one, we insist that we should follow Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. And even if one limb is missing, if there is Guru but there is no Shastra or no devotees, no sadhus, then that's not good. If there is Guru, if there is scriptures but you don't read the scriptures with the help of devotees and Guru, then also that's not helpful, right? If there are devotees around you, but you never read scriptures, you never take shelter of any guru, that is also not helpful. So those three should go together, because we need a lot of tools to understand God, to understand his mood, to understand his pastimes. The best shelter that we have is basically Harikatha. So I'm feeling separation from Harikatha. These 3 sessions, we have not done any Harikatha. But Harikatha is the highest taste, where we glorify the name, form, qualities, pastimes of the Lord. And once you get addicted to Harikatha, you develop such a high taste that any other taste of these worlds go away. So people ask me sometimes, why do you want to join, Bhagavad Gita class for 2 hours? Ya aap roz Bhagavatam padhte ho. Why are you doing that? Because Harikatha is so nectarian. Harikatha is full of such mellows. It is transcendental. It fills that void in your heart that no dry knowledge or dry speeches or mundane speakers, motivational speakers can give you. They can provide you some help on superficial platform, bodily platform, but not to the deepest core of your heart, to the spiritual level that the soul needs, right? So that can only come from Harikatha. So with that, let's jump into our first question. Is that okay? Okay, so the question is here. Why do various religious practices recommend fasting? Why is fasting recommended? And I have broken it down into material benefits, religious recommendations, and spiritual benefits. So without any delay, and this is the easy question. You all know the answer, so let's go back to back. Yes, Avni and Vedi.
So fasting is recommended because, so first, material benefits, it's good for your body to take a break from all the other foods and might just eat some like simple food, yeah. And then religious or spiritual, because it removes a lot of sins when you fast. And
Okay. Okay, let's hear from different people, Avni. So it's a break for the body, right? It's detoxifying for you, right? So physical benefit is material. Physical is a material benefit, bodily benefit. It's detoxifying for you. You're putting so much in your gut that it needs a break to digest this and actually it's a detox for the body, right? So it improves your metabolism and various health benefits. Okay, good. Then religious, she mentioned that it removes some sins. So scriptures say that fasting on certain days or fasting for certain deities, you can have some relief from sins. Aapke kuch paap kat jayenge, kuch karma kat jayenge, right? Okay. What else? Who else would like to mention? Let's keep going.
I would like to say that fasting benefits material on a material platform because it gives a certain discipline that every once in 15 days you are going to observe fast.
Yes, perfect. Discipline. So that is a material benefit, but also actually it can be put in all three categories. It is like an austerity. It is like a tapasya for the body. We should do some type of austerity or tapasya, put body to a discipline. Yes, Mataji, thank you. Very nice. Who else?
Mataji, by
Yes.
fasting and not eating, you are able to manage your mind relatively better than the day when you eat. So managing the mind for the sadhana to connect to Krishna, so that is a benefit, Mataji, a spiritual benefit.
Okay, perfect. So mind control, discipline, and then spiritual benefit is your sadhana, your devotional practices will improve, right? So who else? Let's see.
It helps us to maintain our digestive system. It regulates the digestive system also, so that you can control accordingly.
Regulates your digestive system. You can say regulates your gut, right? It keeps it's good for your gut health. It's good for your metabolic health. It's good for your, even actually for your cardiac health and all. And that day you consume more antioxidants, right? They're good for preventing cancer. So you take more antioxidants. You're taking just fruits and vegetables, let's say. Now, I'm not talking about Ekadashi. That will be a separate question. I'm just talking about any fasting. Okay. Any other point? Brinka Mataji is saying, let me see. He said, makes us realize the value of food. Okay, value of food, so you don't waste it. So that I'll put that in a material benefit, so you do not wasting the food. Value of food. Okay, good.
And also, Mataji, the upavas, the meaning of upavas is sitting next to the God. So that's what like upavas. So like you're sitting next to the God means it can be connected again, control the mind, so we can focus on him, on his lotus feet, and that way we sit close to him.
Yes, Prabhuji. So pas means Bhagwan ke paas vas karna, right? So residing close to the Lord. So, so definitely there are religious benefits given in various scriptures for various types of fasting, relief from various sins and karmas, and a better. They also sometimes say there are better, better next life, yeah, for better position in next life. You may even become a demigod or on a heavenly planet. Yeah, for rich family, yeah, more beauty, yeah, more wealth. So basically, better position in next life, right? Even in this life you may have better situation, so next life or this life your situation, material situation will improve. Those things are being given in karmkandic religious practices, right? With fasting also you can please various demigods, right? Various fasting is done for various demigods also to please them for certain material benefits. जैसे किसी को अच्छा पति चाहिए, अच्छा कोई बच्चा चाहिए, things like that, so people do fasting for that. Those can be material / religious benefits, but spiritual benefit is basically like Ravi Prabhu said, we are doing any practice for the love of Lord, so we should practice it in an austere mood. Ab kya hota hai, like one day somebody asked me, what is the point of such fasting where people are eating all day anyways, right? So what do you think? Is it better to eat the prescribed foods for that day and call it fasting, or is it should we not even bother with such kind of fasting? जैसे कि मान लो एकादशी का व्रत है, कोई ग्रेन्स और बीन्स नहीं खा रहा, लेकिन वो बाकी बहुत चीजें खा रहा है सारा दिन, उसके ऐसे भर भर के ही इज ईटिंग अ लॉट. So is that better, या फिर ऐसी फास्टिंग करने का, कहीं people scoff at this, ऐसी फास्टिंग करने का क्या फायदा, इससे बेटर तो ना ही करो फास्टिंग. So which is better, to not fast at all or to do that kind of fasting?
Mataji, balance. It again, everybody individualistic tolerance. Some people can tolerate without having anything by mouth. Some people will not. So my understanding, if my fasting is not interfering with my functional duties and increasing
Prabhuji,
my
the question is कि फास्टिंग ना करना बेटर है या फिर ऐसी फास्टिंग करना बेटर है? इट्स वेरी वन लाइन क्वेश्चन. फास्टिंग ना करें या फिर उस दिन ग्रेन्स बीन्स खा लें, या फिर इतना सारा खाना खा रहे हैं बिन, उसमें तो कोई मटेरियल बेनिफिट नहीं मिल रहा, राइट? क्योंकि बॉडी डिटॉक्सिफाई नहीं हो रही, कुछ भी नहीं
तो
हो रहा.
फास्टिंग ना करें माता जी, टू मी द फास्टिंग ना, उससे बढ़िया है, क्योंकि ना उसको बेनिफिट, मटेरियल बेनिफिट भी नहीं मिल रहा है, स्पिरिचुअल तो भूल ही जाइए.
I feel it's better to go ahead and fast always.
Yes, Mataji. So it is better to fast always, even if you are not able to control yourself, as better than eating grains and beans that day. So not fasting से better ये है कि चाहे आप सारा दिन कुछ खा रहे हो, लेकिन it is still better to do that. So if somebody asks you this question, कि हम लोग देखते हैं अपने परिवार में लोग बोलते हैं so called कि हम fasting कर रहे हैं आज, लेकिन उस fasting के नाम पे बहुत कुछ खा रहे होते हैं, prescribed चीजें खा रहे होते हैं उस दिन की, लेकिन खा रहे होते हैं बहुत सारी. तो ऐसी fasting से तो हम भले हैं क्योंकि हम नहीं खाते. No, that's not right. आप भले नहीं हो, क्योंकि at least that person understands the authority of the Lord and trying to do something. Still, it is still an austerity that he is not eating the regular food that day, right? जैसे कि हम किसी फंक्शन में जाते हैं, everybody is eating everything, छोले भटूरे सब कुछ. अब ये बंदा फास्ट कर रहा है, लेकिन he is eating a lot of, उसने अपने प्लेट में बहुत सारे फ्रूट्स और स्मूदीज और ऐसा भर लिया, और कोई उसको बोले कि तुम्हारी फास्टिंग से अच्छे तो हम हैं. नहीं, that's not right, because this person is still following a path, an injunction given by the Lord, and he's not at the platform where he can do a lot of austerity right now, but at least he's struggling and trying. At least he is following the injunction of not eating grains and beans that day. And maybe, and he if he keeps praying to the Lord, please bring me to that platform where I can control myself, and I'm not, I can control my urges of hunger, then that will be the best, right? So if he can come to the best platform, that's good. At least he's trying to climb the ladder, but the other person is not even on the bottom rung of the ladder. वो तो उसने तो ladder चढ़नी भी शुरू नहीं की. At least ये व्यक्ति ladder के सबसे नीचे रंग पे तो है. तो इसलिए जो बच्चे होते हैं, for example, for kids, we say, no, give them everything, let them eat. Just within the injunctions of that fasting, let them eat, make things for them for Ekadashi, make Ekadashi pizza and whatever you want to make, let them eat. Why? because at least they're following the injunctions. At least they will attract mercy of the Lord. At least one day they will come to that platform where they'll be able to control themselves, right? लेकिन अगर कुछ कर ही नहीं रहे कभी, तो फिर तो माइंड को बहुत अच्छा वो मिल गया कि मैं तो बहुत अच्छा हूँ इन लोगों से. So your ego is feasting. So we're not doing this for material benefit is what I'm trying to imply. Even if you're not getting any of these material benefits that you're talking about, you're still following the injunctions given in the scriptures. You're still pleasing the Lord because you are starting on the path. You have started on the path. The other person has not even started on the path. Does that make sense, Prabhuji?
Mataji, yes, Ekadashi related, yes. I was answering the overall fasting, but my point is from beginning, the mind is very, very strong. If the fasting meaning is not instilled in the children or in us, that fasting means you have to eat less. Then to me, the mind is always going to play the game for lifelong. Okay, I'm not going to eat grains, but I'm going to eat all day. So if the person doesn't have a discipline, then it's going to be challenging. But if the person has a discipline, then maybe when the person grow up, he will be more disciplined and control the eating. But
Yes,
because
Prabhuji.
mind, whatever you teach the mind in the beginning, that's what the mind wants to hang on to.
Yes, Prabhuji, but we have to understand the bigger principle. The bigger principle is to fast, right? So,
Yes.
so mind is a very lower principle. I know that mind control is very much important but you cannot get the person to even start fasting unless you give them some leeway. So I'm not saying you don't teach them discipline and all, but just like in chanting, you don't just jump to 16 rounds or 64 rounds. You start from 1 or 2 rounds. Similarly with fasting or with any other spiritual principle also, you start somewhere. You have to start. You're at least on the train. But if you tell them no, don't fast at all, because either you fast 100% or you don't fast, then that's not
No,
या तो आप बहुत
no,
अच्छा करो
that's
या
not.
बिल्कुल
No,
नहीं.
yeah, that's not. No,
Yeah.
balance, Mataji, yes.
Yeah,
Start
it
karna,
should be
yes.
balanced,
Hello.
but when other people are eating, we should not eating whatever they're eating. We should not say that not fasting is better than their eating. That's not true. So that's the answer we are coming
That's
to.
not true. I agree with that on Ekadashi day. Yes, at least we are not eating the grains and other thing that is related to that's that is actually an austerity, because just giving up rice and roti is a big austerity. A lot of people don't even want to do that.
Right. So, and then Ekadashi hui, but there are other tithis also. Ekadashi is not the only one. For example, it could be Janmashtami, it could be any major festivals, Radha Ashtami, whatever, any other festivals also. Now, then comes the next question. So let's go to the next question. This is about Ekadashi. So when we were talking, we were not talking about Ekadashi so far. We were talking about general fasting. Now I'm talking about specifically Ekadashi fasting. Why is Ekadashi fasting specifically recommended? So here, let's talk about Ekadashi itself. So whoever is keeping Ekadashi, please pitch in. Why is Ekadashi fasting recommended? Give me material and spiritual and religious benefits all. Let's hear from somebody who has not spoken so far.
Okay, I'll wait till the end.
I want to engage people some more. So I know some other people also keep fasting. Abhishek Prabhu, Hema Mataji, Sheetal Mataji, please, if you feel it. Yes, Abhishek Prabhu, please answer.
Mataji, on Ekadashi, see, like we live and grow up in India, so we have it depends upon different states what they follow on Ekadashi. Some states follow like fast all day and
That's
break
okay,
your.
Prabhuji. We're not talking about kitna strict fasting. We're talking why we keep Ekadashi. Why anybody keeps Ekadashi.
For my understanding, I have just started like couple of weeks ago. So
Okay, very good.
yeah, so I am just continuing that Ekadashi Vrat. So for your answers you are looking for, like why we keep Ekadashi, is just to help ourselves. What I can say was just to help ourselves follow the spiritual practice, like as in scriptures, Sri Lord Krishna said, like we have to keep Ekadashi Vrat just to keep up in your health practices for your spirituality.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah.
Hari Bol. Well, Hari Bol that you started keeping Ekadashi. That's amazing. Hare Krishna Manju Mataji, thank you for joining. Yes, please share. We talked about why is fasting recommended in various practices, religious practices, whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Jews, various days fasting is recommended. Actually, one point I did not mention, I would like to mention it before we go to the next point. The point I did not mention is vegetarians, if you see, are not recommended very long fasting. Whereas if you're meat eating, very long fasting is recommended because you need more detoxification. So, for example, 30 to 40 days of fastings are recommended in various religious practices that allow meat eating. But for vegetarians, typically just 2 days of fasting per month or like that. 36 to 48 hours is recommended. That's one point. And then we were talking about why is Ekadashi fasting specifically recommended, and we are taking material reasons, religious reasons, and spiritual reasons. Spiritual reason meaning one that invokes love of God for us, one that connects us to the Lord. Material reasons means bodily, mental, emotional, mind-related, things like that. And religious means what is enjoined in the scriptures. So based on that, we're trying to have this discussion why Ekadashi fasting is recommended. So yes, Mataji, please share.
So, as far as the fasting concept is, जो मेरे को समझ में आता है, मीन्स कि जो मुझे मालूम भी है, वो ये है कि फास्टिंग से ना एक तो हम अपनी बॉडी को डिटॉक्सिफाई करते हैं.
माताजी वो सब हो गया. We talking about एकादशी. आप सिर्फ एकादशी पे फोकस करो.
अच्छा, एकादशी के फास्ट की मैंने एक स्टोरी सुनी थी. उसमें ये था कि वो स्टोरी का जो मेरे को पता है कि देयर वाज वन दासी, भगवान कृष्ण किसी के साथ युद्ध कर रहे थे, किसी असुर के साथ. देन ही वेंट इनटू अ केव, ही स्लेप्ट देयर फॉर अ व्हाइल, एंड देन आई थिंक उनको वो जो असुर थे वो ना उनको क्या बोलते हैं, हाँ देखिए बोलते, तो वो उनको ना, आई एम सॉरी मैं बाहर थी तो
no problem.
या
Yes, Mataji, I know. So there is a story in the scriptures, Mataji saying it was about a Dasi. She was called Ekadashi by Krishna. She was the one who killed the demon. And that story comes in scriptures. And so Ekadashi or Ekdasi became so dear to Krishna that he recommended that everybody will fast from grains and beans and follow some austerity on this day because you're very dear to me. So that is a scriptural reason. Yes.
Yes. तो वो दासी ने जब वो असुर भगवान श्री कृष्ण की नींद को डिस्टर्ब करने के लिए गए थे, तो फिर वो दासी उत्पन्न हुई भगवान की शक्ति या ड्रीम से. तो उन्होंने ना उस असुर का वध किया, और उसके बाद फिर उस असुर ने जब भगवान से क्षमा मांगी, तो भगवान ने बोला कि मैं आपको स्थान दूंगा अन्न में उस दिन के लिए. तो उस दिन अगर जो भी लोग मनुष्य लोग फास्ट करेंगे और अन्न नहीं खाएंगे तो वो पाप से रहित रहेंगे. तो आई थिंक दिस वाज द स्पिरिचुअल. मेरे को पूरी स्टोरी एग्जैक्टली अभी याद में नहीं आ रही है, बट इतना मुझे याद है कि वो एक दासी के होने से एकादशी का व्रत रखा गया था. तब से भगवान कृष्ण ने एकादशी.
Okay. Yes, Haribol. So this is a story from scriptures, and that's why she's dear to Krishna, and it's called a Madhav Tithi. So you remember that song? Madhavati Ti Bhagati Janani Yatane Palana Kori. So that's one reference from scriptures. Who else would like to? And then of course all the material benefits apply. Jo Mataji bhi bol rahe the ki break for the body, discipline, austerity, mind control, metabolism, benefit, detoxifying, regulates the gut, antioxidants. All these benefits to apply. Jo fasting mein ho raha hai, wo Ekadashi fasting mein bhi ho raha hai, right? So those material benefits all apply for general fasting and Ekadashi fasting. Okay, let's hear from
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
On Ekadashi, devotee, I have heard from devotees, the senior devotees, it is the sale for bhakti. So anything done on a day of Ekadashi gives us more benefit as compared to doing the same thing on the other days.
Very bold. Yes, Prabhuji, very, very important point. So this is a spiritual reason that Krishna has given us certain days where he has put his mercy, and so by little investment you get more. So जैसे ज़्यादा returns मिलते हैं ना, certain banks give you very high returns कि आपके investment पे 20% return मिल रहा है, right? That is a very good investment. So if you're getting good returns on your investment, then you should invest on that, right? So on this day, your investments get more returns, meaning if you're chanting one name of the Lord, it gets 100 times credit. If you're reading, whatever spiritual practices you do that day, Krishna has given us more credits that day. It's a bonus day. So according to the scriptures, more mercy is given that day. For the same amount of reading, hearing, chanting, worship, you get much more credit. So there is a spiritual credit extra मिलता है. जैसे सेल होती है, जैसे ब्लैक फ्राइडे की सेल होती है, उस दिन क्यों लेते हैं हम जाके? क्योंकि ज्यादा बेनिफिट मिलता है. So this is mercy of the Lord that He gives us certain special days like that. हम कम करके भी बहुत ज्यादा कर सकते हैं, लेकिन what devotees do is they do very much that day so that they can get very, very extra credits. So that's why we do all this. That gives another point. If since we want to do more and more spiritual practices that day, right? We don't want to make too much food that day. So we don't want to waste our time in cooking and stuff. We want to decrease our bodily. So we want to decrease our bodily needs. Taki, we don't have to cater to the body so much that day. We can engage more and more in spiritual practices. So that's another reason for fasting. Who else? Would the other Hima Mataji like? Oh, Veda, yes, please share. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Another spiritual one. There's the thing. I think it was. Oh, see now I can. Parikshit Maharaj told Kali Yuga that you can reside in the grains on the day.
Little different story. Little different story. But yeah, that's the important story I was looking for.
Yeah,
So-
Kali Yuga resides in the grains.
Yeah, that's not Parikshit Maharaj, that's Krishna himself. So basically, there is a person called Pap Purush. So Pap Purush is the one that Yamraj uses to punish various jivas in his Yamlok, right? In his Yampuri. So that Pap Purush punishes people for their sins. So Krishna, so then Pap Purush one day asked Krishna, it's a very long story, but basic is that Krishna felt bad at these souls, and he said that I will, one day do not, kaise tha, mujhe yaad nahi aa raha exactly, but basically he said one day you hide in the grains and beans, okay? And whoever is not eating grains and beans, that person will get mercy, and the person who's eating grains and beans, they will actually, because they're eating pap, eating sins, they will actually even get sins that they have not committed. आप कहोगे ओ मैंने तो कभी बैंक रॉबरी नहीं की, मैंने तो कभी किसी का मर्डर नहीं किया, किसी भी जन्म में नहीं किया, उसका भी पाप लग गया. Why? Because you were eating sins and grains and beans, because they contain pap purush or sins on the day of Ekadashi. That is why we fast from grains and beans, because sins are collected in the grains and beans. So उस दिन उसमें रखे जाते हैं sins. So we try to avoid any grains and beans at all, because they are hiding in the grains and beans. The sins are hiding in the grains and beans. So जो पाप आपने नहीं भी किए वो भी आपको लग रहे हैं. And on the other hand, if you're avoiding these things, and you're getting extra mercy, and this is the scriptural aspects. These are the scriptural stories. What else? Couple other points. Let's think as a Vaishnav. So and let me ask you this question before we even. Somebody can say, let's say completely non-practicing person, a non-believer or non-follower, or whatever you want to say. They say, why is Lord so harsh, so cruel, that he would, you're his children, you all the religions say that we are his children, yet he's making you fast, yet he's making you fast, he's giving you this such cruelty that day that you are having to fast from so many things. So क्या भगवान इतने क्रूर हैं, इतने cruel हैं that he enjoys when we are not eating, it's a very pleasurable situation for him that his children are not eating that day. What is the answer to that? How would you answer that? Yes, Reddy.
I think it's more he said it, and then he's also seeing how people are following it and if they're not following it. So obviously, because people are, yeah, it shows our devotion that we are willing to fast for him on this day and do extra sadhana, and he sees that effort also.
Okay. लेकिन क्यों? वो तो हम स्क्रिप्चर्स रीड करके या चैंटिंग करके भी कर सकते हैं साधना, तो आरती करके, कीर्तन करके, glorify the name form Lord. उस दिन पूरे दिन क्लास करते हैं, how about that? But still keep eating. Eating क्यों? में क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
Once you stop eating, sorry, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Once you stop eating and you don't eat anything, you will remember Krishna more than normal, because that is your normal routine. And since you are not eating anything, so you will remember Krishna more. I think your level of spirituality increases.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what I would say is basically, so we are, a spirit soul that is trapped in this body. So that's why we are an embodied soul. जैसे भगवद गीता हमेशा बोलती है ना, बद्ध जीव है, embodied soul, right? We are trapped in the body. So eating is a function of the body, right? It's not a function of the soul. So we are eating every day. We are consuming a lot of things through various senses, right? Eating is just one of the most predominant ones. It is one of the most prominent ones. And we are associating with this body so much that we it's easy to say to be detached, that we should become detached, but it's hard to become detached. So fasting is one way to detach yourself from the body and come to the spirit platform, really feel that I am the soul and not this body, that I don't need to give in to all the urges of this body all the time, right? So we try to control our urges on a daily basis, but fasting days, especially when there is more mercy, that is recommended by Krishna, so we can detach from the body for that day, right? And that's why actually not just eating, but we detach from the body from other ways also, जैसे कि कम TV देखना, कम बोलना, more chanting karna, right? So on every which way we try to detach from the body, right? So any kind of sensual pleasures we don't give to the body that day, because we need to be austere that day. We need to do it in a way of tapasya that day. So detach from the body and try to realize your spiritual self. That's the purpose of fasting. जैसे कि इसका एग्जाम्पल ऐसे ले सकते हैं कि कोई बच्चा है, उसको टीवी देखने का बहुत शौक है, ठीक है? जैसे हमें अपनी बॉडी का बहुत शौक है, ऐसे किसी बच्चे को टीवी देखने का बहुत शौक है, राइट? ही लव्स वाचिंग टीवी. Now his exam is coming, right? His exam is coming. It's tomorrow. The mother says, "Beta, please, for my sake, don't watch TV today. Just study for your exam," right? She means well for him, right? She is not letting him engage or indulge in this urge of watching TV so that he can dissociate from that and spend more time in what is most beneficial for him, which is studying for tomorrow, for exam, right? Similarly, Krishna also wants us to detach from our body on certain days at least. We're not able to do that on a daily basis. We should do a little bit on a daily basis, but at least on these days, Krishna says, detach from your body, because you have an exam coming up, the exam of death, when you would have to remember me, and you won't be able to remember me because you're so attached to this body. You're always giving into the urges of this body. So for at least this day, don't give into the urges of this body and just focus on me. जैसे mother ने बोला as a well wisher to her child, don't watch TV. Does that mean she means really bad for him? She's cruel कि उसको TV नहीं देखने दे रही? नहीं, because she knows he has a bad habit of that TV. Similarly, we have a bad habit of catering to this body's bodily urges, this body's needs all the time. All the time. कभी कुछ देख लिया, कभी कुछ खा लिया, कभी कुछ सुन लिया, कभी कुछ पढ़ लिया. Constantly we are catering to the needs of this body. So detach from this body a little bit, at least on these days of fasting, so you can focus more on the Lord and develop your love for Him. And He has put extra mercy. उसके लिए वो पैसे भी दे रहे हैं. जैसे कि माँ बोले बेटा टीवी मत देख, और मैं तेरे को इसके लिए $20 दूंगी टीवी ना देखने के. तो अगर पढ़ाई करेगा ना, मैं तेरे को पढ़ाई करने के ज्यादा के पैसे दूंगी. Is that mother merciful या फिर cruel? She is merciful. उसका काम था एग्जाम के लिए पढ़ना, उसके लिए वो उसको पैसे दे रही है, राइट? तो इसी तरीके से कृष्णा इज गिविंग अस एक्स्ट्रा क्रेडिट दैट डे कि बेटा इस दिन डोंट इंडल्ज सो मच इन योर बॉडी, आई विल गिव यू एक्स्ट्रा क्रेडिट इफ you engage in spiritual practices today, because this was your job to engage in spiritual practices actually every day. You neglected that job, but he wants you to focus on it, so he is giving you mercy, he's giving you pralobhan, extra credit, mercifully is giving you extra credit कि बेटा ये तेरा काम था to do this every day, you're not able to do this every day, at least do it on this day, and I give you एक नाम chant करने के 100 नाम का credit दूंगा, ठीक है? So he's given us pralobhan, he's given us more benefits for that day. So this is how we detach from body for that day. We engage in more spiritual practices, we capture the mercy of the Lord, and we increase our love for Krishna. We detach from body, attached to the love of the Lord. So this is one of the things that I was looking for in why we follow these fastings and Ekadashi and other days. Now Vaishnavas typically do not fast for any other days that are not Madhav Tithis. I'll say that very, very openly, very, very blandly, because all other days, if you're doing fasting for any demigod worship, yeah, Navratro ke fast, anything, are not recommended in Vaishnav culture because they're done for purely material benefits. So we are not trying to please any Devi Devtas, demigods. We are trying to transcend from material platform, and we're trying to just please the Lord, and we fast on Madhav Tithi. So if you can follow the Madhav Tithi is the best. You can do other fasts if you want, but depends on your intention. If your intention is to please the Devi Devtas, then that's not really recommended. If you're trying to get better body and better health and better, wealth and stuff like that, then you will actually get those things and be in more trouble. So we just surrender to Krishna and don't make extra effort by praying to demigods for these extra things. So that's the Vaishnava culture. So fasting is not recommended for any material benefits. Fasting is completely voluntary. It's not recommended for any political benefits. So you don't anshan pe baithte hain ya Mahatma Gandhi style, all that is not recommended. That is in mode of ignorance. It's not recommended. So bodily austerity should be taken to please the Lord, to detach from the body and to come to a spiritual platform, not for any political material benefits. Those things entangle you more. तो अगर किसी को और फंसना है इसमें और जन्म लेते रहना है, then they can do fasting for those reasons. But if you want to get out of this bandhan and please the Lord and go back to Godhead, then it should not be for any material reasons. Fasting should be purely for spiritual reasons. So and that is why when you were talking about खा सकते हैं या फिर बिल्कुल ही fasting मत करो, so that is not recommended. क्योंकि material benefits लगे हम वैसे भी नहीं कर रहे fasting. So yes, there are material benefits as a byproduct with which you can incite new people कि देखो body में benefit होता है, body detox होती है, mind discipline होता है, mind control होता है. These kind of things we can tell to new people. But for Vaishnavas, it is solely, purely spiritual benefits of pleasing the Lord, attaching to Krishna, detaching from the body. So those are the. Anybody has any questions, thoughts on this? Any other points that come to mind? So we are pleasing senses of the Lord, not really worried about our own senses. Is that good? Does that help? To answer any questions about fasting, I'm surprised people are very quiet. Rinka Mataji, do you have any questions about this? Or Manju Mataji, Ragati Mataji, Ravi Prabhu, please go ahead. Okay, if no questions, would you like to take on one more or shall we stop? Let's take one more very quickly since people are here. I think this will get you fired up. So let's take this question. So there are many paths. There is Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, maybe so many schools of thought, so many sampradayas are there. Every path says that they are the best. How do we know which path is topmost? Let's hear some quick points. This is not very hard. I did not come to the hardest one actually. This is the fasting wala is the easiest thing. This is Yes, Abhi.
So I think so all the religious paths, they all are taking us back to Krishna or
Okay.
back to God. It's just that, and they're all telling us that we need to love God. But in Bhakti Yoga, it's telling us how and love God. So that's a point that I have.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Okay, yeah, I get your point. So how to love God is we're getting more details, basically, you're saying, right? We're getting more answers. Okay, good. Okay. Who else? Let's hear from more kids. Vinita and the Tharv, please answer something. How do we know which path is best when they say all of them say they're the best? Everybody says ours is the topmost.
I think it depends on the person, and whichever one the person finds easier to follow. And it's like you said, that religion means to know God and to love God. So whichever way is easiest for someone to understand, to know God and love God.
Okay, yeah. So God has given different paths based on everybody's understanding and intelligence, right? So, so if you can follow that path nicely, this is actually a very important point. Any path can give you, high realizations, but the problem is people are not following those paths nicely. So paths are given according to people's understanding and intelligence and their intelligence and their limitations, we can say, or their circumstances. Okay, so whoever can follow a path nicely, they can give you good realization. So any path can take you to a good platform. Okay, good. What else? I'm going to pick people because people are not answering. Hima Mataji, please tell us, how do you know which path is the best?
One thing I did want to I want to say about spiritual path is that it not only helps you know God, but it actually helps you experience some of the qualities of God. It's called anubhuti.
Yes, Mataji. So when you follow a proper path, you will know how path is best when you get the best realizations or anubhuti, right?
Yes.
Okay, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that, what does he say? प्रत्यक्ष अवागमम धर्म्यम सुसुखम कर्तुम अव्ययम, राइट? प्रत्यक्ष अवागमम, सो आपको प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण मिलेगा. इट विल बी एविडेंस बेस्ड कि जब आप करोगे प्रैक्टिस तो you will get the realizations of the God, and that is actually what is needed. Otherwise, if you don't get any realization, you won't be able to stay on the path for very long. You will go, fall back into the material pool if you're not getting any realizations. Yes, Sheetal Mataji, please answer.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Nana Prabhu will say something.
Yes, Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी. माता जी, संस्कृत में एक श्लोक था, महाजनाः येन मार्गेण गच्छन्ति सः मार्गः. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm writing as yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like to just tell a story in 2-3 words, 2-3 sentences. In one ashrama, there were 2 disciples. Both were from the same guru. They got the knowledge, ज्ञान मिला. और जब ज्ञान मिलने के बाद गुरु ने बोला कि अब आपकी शिक्षा पूरी हुई, आप घर को लौट सकते हैं. तो जब जाने लगे रास्ते में, तो दोनों में से एक बड़ा शकी था, मतलब उसको बहुत डाउट रहता था हमेशा. तो वो बोला कि अभी हम लोग, गुरुजी, हम लोग अभी कौन से मार्ग से जाए? तो गुरुजी ने फिर दोहराया, मैंने पहले भी आपको समझाया था, पहले भी ज्ञान दिया था कि महाजनाः येन मार्गेण गच्छन्ति सः मार्गः. तो एक जो था इंटेलिजेंट, वो सही मार्ग में गए. रास्ते में चलते चलते वो बोलता है कि भाई ये राइट से जाना है, तो नहीं बोलता है कि हम लेफ्ट से जाएंगे. जो थोड़ा बुद्धू सा था, वो लेफ्ट से गया, तो आगे देखा उसने शमशान घाट में बहुत सारे लोग एक साथ जा रहे हैं. सो ही फॉलोड देम. लास्ट में वो शमशान घाट पहुंच गया और वही वो शमशान जोगी बन गया. और जिसने गुरु जी का बिल्कुल सही उपदेश माना था कि महाजनाः येन मार्गेण गच्छन्ति सा मार्गः, जो बड़े बड़े ज्ञानी पुरुष जिन्होंने अच्छे मार्ग पे जाने के लिए, मतलब जो रिलीजियस हो, स्पिरिचुअल मार्ग हो, इस पे जाने के लिए कहा था, तो उसने राइट पाथ फॉलो किया, तो वो सही जाके एक आख्या योगी और साधु बना। तो ये स्टोरी का यही मतलब है कि महाजनाः येन मार्गेण गच्छन्ति सः मार्गः, आप किस तरह से लेते हैं उसके ऊपर आपके इंटेलिजेंस है वो डिपेंड करता है। तो ऐसा ना हो कि जो स्पिरिचुअल मार्ग है वो सबसे अच्छा मार्ग है, ऐसा ही मुझे लगता है।
Yes,
बस
Prabhuji.
यही स्टोरी।
Thank you so much for sharing. I quoted a similar verse from Bhagavatam, Mahajano yen gatana pantha. So we should do as the great men do, great souls do, right? We should follow in their footsteps. So actually, great souls ने तो बहुत अच्छे lessons दिए हैं, but those lessons get deteriorated over time. Like in Christianity, the commandments are not being followed properly, right? They say clearly, "Thou shalt not kill," but they're maintaining, Christian world is maintaining slaughterhouses. So "Thou shalt not kill" is not being followed properly. So if the great souls, whatever injunctions they have given, whatever path they have shown, if we can follow that path properly, then we can get to a higher realization. So we should follow in the footsteps of great souls to the properly the way they have taught us, not concoct our own easier paths or easier methods. So okay, what else? Manju Mataji, were you sharing something?
Mataji, can I say one quick sentence?
Yes, Prabhuji, please, sure.
Mataji, I have realized that instead of trying to resonate with so many paths and so many religion and try and check out, God already has given us a birth in one community or one religion or one whatever, because we had no choice of where we want to take birth. So अगर भगवान ने मेरे को हिंदू परिवार में पैदा कर दिया है, तो मेरा धर्म है कि उस हिंदू वाले को समझ करके स्पिरिचुअल पाथ पकड़ करके भगवान के साथ फिर जाके वापस लौट आना है। हम अपने टाइम को किसी और धर्म को समझने के लिए अच्छा है, लगाना है, बहुत बढ़िया बात है, लेकिन पहले अपना धर्म समझ लेंगे पूरा से, अगर भगवान के साथ अनुभूति मिल गया मेरे को, तो सारा धर्म समझ में आ जाएगा। दिस इज माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग, माता जी।
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so by that logic, then all these great souls that we got as our disciples of Prabhupada and sannyasis, they would never have come to our path if we use the logic of the birth. That the birth we are given, we just stick with that particular, and we never evolve our faith. क्योंकि बर्थ तो किसी का किसी बहुत ही गरीब फैमिली में भी हो सकता है, लेकिन वो फिर करता है मेहनत, and he becomes he improves his situation in life, he becomes very rich or famous and powerful. But we should say no, जिसमें जो बर्थ मिला है उसी सिचुएशन में रहो, गरीब हो तो गरीब ही रहो, ब्राह्मण हो तो ब्राह्मण ही रहो, even if you don't have any qualities, Christian हो तो Christian ही रहो, even if you don't get any answers to your questions. तो उसमें ये प्रॉब्लम आती है, and we've read in chapter 17 that Krishna says that the faith can evolve, that faith should be evolved. So we should come to the topmost faith. So we're trying to understand which is the topmost faith. So we should not just stick to what we are given by birth, because that may not be topmost. That's decided by our previous karmas and all. That's not, that was actually our decision to come to this body based on how our karmas were, whether we were whether we are man, woman, Hindu, in Indian, in American, whatever, ant or rat or whatever, that was based on our previous situations, previous janmas. So can we evolve now in this janma? Can we decide what is topmost for us and follow that path? So partly I agree with that. Partly
Yes, Mataji. No, I think I may not be. I was not really. I think the point आपने जो समझा वो लिमिटेड है। मेरा जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि यस, हमको इवॉल्व करना है, एंड वी शुड हैव द जिज्ञासा, द क्यूरियोसिटी टू नो, एंड इन दैट process, if we have to even change, we should change. And your point is very valid. That is why we have Radhanath Swami Maharaj here with us. That is why we have Giriraj Swami Maharaj here, because they were born Christian. So the jigyasa will lead us to evolve, and the God will guide us to the right path if we show our sincerity and put the sincere effort.
Okay. Yes, Prabhuji. So I would rephrase it to say that we should see, are our questions answered? So, okay, so far we have these points. So, कैसे आपको पता चलेगा what is the topmost path? First of all, whether by following that path you're getting realization of the Lord or not. That's very important point Mataji mentioned. Anubhuti hogi, realizations hongi. Secondly, the Prabhu's comment, I'll phrase it to say whether your questions are getting answered. These people that came to Prabhupada's movements, their questions were not getting answered by Christianity. The concept of reincarnation was basic, most concept was not there. So are your questions being answered, right? Number two. Number three, what Avni mentioned a little, are the details being given? Do we have the details of the Lord? Do we understand his name, form, qualities, pastimes, glories, his associates, his friends, his mother, his father, his everything? Do we know, do we understand the details of the Lord, or is it just some vague idea about the God? Is it just talking about some moral and ethical values and just, or are there details, right? So look at that. That's how you can say that particular path is for me. If there are details, people are not shying away from answering your question. They're not just asking you to follow something blindly. It's not just based on superstition. It is actually giving you very good realizations when you practice it, right? And then we should not really worry about whether it's just easy. Just like somebody can say Christianity and Islam, let's say they're very easy to follow, right? Meat eating is allowed, and many wives for one man. So that sounds very easy to follow. So why wouldn't someone follow that? Why would someone follow your path, which is a Krishna conscious path, is restricting? You can't eat even onion garlic. Forget about meat, huh? You don't even, look at you call other ladies Mataji, forget about any, conjugal relationships with anybody. So this path seems harder. Why wouldn't someone follow a simple path? Because simple or easy is not always the right answer, right? Things are given easier to certain people who are not able to follow the restrictions. Our culture, Krishna consciousness that we are following is so ancient. It was given to people, the generation so ancient, Aryans, that were able to follow the strict rules and regulations, that were the highest class of men, that were the best civilization possible. They were maintaining the best possible consciousness, right? So to those, these high rules and regulations and restrictions were given because they were able to follow them. But as the ages deteriorate, then Lord gives provisions according to the limited understanding, limited consciousness of people, according to their more sense attachment. They want more sense enjoyment. So he gives privileges, he gives allowances. He gives a more flexible path, easier path that people can follow. But just having these flexibility allowances doesn't mean it's the best path, right? And then a point that you can always quote, how I know that my path is the best, because in Bible, Christ says that I'm son of God, right? Right? Muhammad has said that I'm prophet of God, right? I am the messenger of God. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that I am God. So he says I am God. So I want association with God, right? So that's another point to remember, that we are not talking about son of God or just messenger of God. We have many messengers and sons, but we also know about the God also, right? So Krishna says himself, I am God. So he says he shows his forms many times. He shows his pastimes through our scriptures. He gives his names. He gives his unlimited qualities. But in any other path, when I try to follow, I'm not getting the details about Lord's various, even his moods, his internal desires are being made clear to us in this path. So that's how you can judge whether a path is topmost or not, whether you get realizations, whether you get your questions answered, whether people are shying away from questions, whether it's just an easier path, but not really appealing to your basic intelligence. They're not following the commandments, the instructions given by their topmost person, right? Their authority. So then you can know that this is not the topmost path to follow. Does that make sense? Any other points come to mind? Questions, realizations? Does this help? Does this improve your faith? Why we are fasting? Why we are following this particular path? Why Ekadashi? Why are we not following any other fastings that are followed by so many other people? And then there are so many other things we can, these questions and answers can go on forever. Why we do not worship demigods? Why we, and then I talked about the role of women once. We can discuss that if you have any questions about that. But very, very clear answers are given for all of these questions and given through our scriptures. So, okay, with that we'll stop. If any of you are available to join for chanting for one round, please stay. Vancha kaltarubhishya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gurve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaya krishnaya krishna bhaktaya tadbhaktaya namo namah. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the temple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Guru Varanga. Hari Bol.